Hey everyone, I thought I'd make a video. It'll probably be 3 parts, starting with, what you should get when starting paintball, and then moving through your first marker to what I would recommend for kind of the high-end markers. Paintball's a great sport. It's a lot of fun. My background, I've been playing since 2003 in college, starting in Colorado, moving out to Texas. I'm in Florida right now. I played in California. I played all over the place. I have a lot of fun with it. I'm not a super competitive kind of person, and you'll see with the kind of markers I've chosen that I'm more of a woods ball kind of guy, not so big in the speedball scene, and so my opinions are going to reflect that. So those of you like-minded like me may want to pay attention to some of the stuff I have to say. If you don't, make your own video, tell people what you recommend. My background is I like things to be cheap and reliable. Other than that, performance is always good, but I like reliability. And then some people like rate of fire over accuracy, or in the case of a paintball, consistency of the air coming out of it. I'm more of a consistency person over a rate of fire person. So you'll kind of see that in the markers that I'm bringing up and telling you guys what you should do. But we're not going to get to markers. That'll be the next video, which will be your first marker, beginner marker, whatever. Let's start with what I think you should get. People have said it before. I'm just going to reiterate it. You need to get a mask. That's the first thing you should get. Don't worry about a paintball marker. Your game's going to change so much if you can actually see what you're doing. So we'll just kind of go through the evolution of the masks that I have had. So first up, your good old rental mask with an awesome, cool tiger stripe paint job. Spray paint, it was fun. The lenses here, nothing great. They're all scratched up. They're hard to see out of. They fog up constantly. It's a hard mask. It'll protect you, but it's not comfortable. Wearing this thing for hours and hours on end, after about an hour, your ears are going to hurt. And at the end of the day, you're going to have red lines, everything up there. These aren't very good masks. Sometimes they come bundled with a paintball gun, and new players will think, hey, that's awesome. I get a mask and a gun. It's not worth it. It really is not. These things are super cheap. You get what you pay for. They're really, really not worth it. The first thing you should get is a decent mask. Now, for me, some people have different rules of thumb. That's a hard-style mask. Some people like hard-style masks. They provide a lot more protection, and you can get comfortable versions of those hard-style masks, and there's no problem with them. If that's your kind of thing, you'd rather have protection over a little bit of deflection and rubberiness, go for it. A mask like that with a good lens, which I'm going to talk about right now, is probably going to run you no more than $40. If you're paying more than $40, you're kind of getting ripped off for a hard-style mask. Now let's move on to my second mask, the Proto Switch FS. I love this mask. And while I'm talking about this, let me first state that no matter what anyone says about a mask, I'm telling you right now that this is the best mask I have ever worn. Why? Because of my face. Everyone's face is different. My face isn't the same size as yours. Things that you feel when you wear it are going to be different than me. I've got a big nose. I've also got a huge chin. You can see I've got a big jawline there. So that's something I kind of want to protect because that's always sticking out on most masks. This mask hides it, and that's why I love it. It's got this little kind of bump here that most masks don't have. So when I put it on, complete jaw protection, everything's wonderful. And you can see it even kind of covers the top of my head too. That's why I love this mask. Do I still wear this mask? Occasionally, but for the most part I've moved up to a different mask for different reasons. I've kind of sacrificed some protection for a lower profile, but that's a choice I've made as I've played more paintball and gotten used to it. This was a great mask. I love it. It's got dual density foam, which you can see it's pulling apart because this thing's so old. This is about a 6 or 7 year old mask at this point. It stood up pretty well. Big thing about them is that it came with a thermal lens. Now you can see with this lens you've got that gasket around there, and that's what you're looking for. That's going to tell you that it's a thermal lens. You'll have stickers that say anti-fog. It doesn't matter. You want a thermal lens because a thermal lens is 2 panes and it keeps your mask from fogging up. If you've ever played paintball for a while, you're out there, you're breathing heavily, your mask's going to fog up, you can't see anything. You want a thermal lens. So this mask was great for me. May not be great for you. Always, always, always try on a mask. If someone says this is the greatest mask ever, try it on. If it fits good, if it feels good, if it feels like something you could wear for a couple hours and it not bother your face. Basically, in the end, you want a mask that almost feels like you're not wearing it. That you're not feeling any pressure points on your nose, just like a pair of glasses or anything like that. You want it to be comfortable. So this mask may not work for you. Oh well. It's all personal preference. Not a big deal. Second mask I'm going to show you is the current mask I use from V-Force. Now, I wasn't really big on V-Force when I first got that. I liked that Proto Mask a bit more, but then I finally got one of these. You can see it's got the tactical tan and olive look, matches my shirt. So, obviously, that's why I got this mask. It's pretty soft, and you can see on the jawline it's got a big cutout, so when it's on my face, it's not providing the protection there. Great ear protection, but it doesn't have the jaw protection I really liked. Oh well, no big deal. I get hit in the jaw. Usually doesn't break. I don't care. It's got this nice little browser here that keeps balls from hitting you in the forehead. That's something you really want to protect as well. I love the clarity. I love how quick the lenses can come off on this thing. What I don't like is that it's not a thermal lens. They don't use thermal lens. They use their own weird anti-fog coating combined with an anti-fog spray. I already told you, buy a thermal lens. However, V-Force masks, I've noticed, are actually really good about it. Under most conditions, these things don't fog up. I've never had a problem with it. They're really well designed. The one time, or the times that I do have problems are when it's really wet and foggy and rainy. These things do fog up a bit. Not as bad as a rental mask, but they do fog up, whereas the thermal lenses never do that. So it's kind of a trade-off. I had a couple thermal lenses peel away from their backing, and then that just completely ruined them, and for the price I was paying for the lens, I was pretty angry. That's why I went with this mask. Again, it fogs up sometimes, still a great mask, and if you use anti-fog spray and stuff with it, you probably won't have any problems. I've never done that yet, so that's probably why mine's fogging up. Even so, this is a great mask. Again, preference. Everyone has their own choice in mask. If someone says they have the greatest mask ever, ask to try it on. Try it on, see if it fits. If you like it, great. One of these, because they're more of a speedball-oriented mask, they've got the rubbery parts to it. I already talked about the hard mask being no more than about $40. I would pay $60 to $70. $70 is pushing it for one of those masks for me. I don't like to pay a lot of money. Masks are one of the few things, too, that I don't like to buy used. So, unfortunately, buy it retail. Because if you buy it used, you get someone's used mask, and it's kind of messed up, and you don't want to deal with someone else's old, nasty mask. Another mask. A lot of people love these. Are the JT Spectra. It's the quintessential speedball mask. I don't like it very much. It's got the thermal lens, got great view, very light, very comfortable, and incredibly flexible. If you take a direct hit to the face, you're going to feel it, and you'll get paint all in your mouth. So that'll be fun too, if it breaks. Typically it doesn't. You can see, though, very little protection. Nothing to block your forehead, so wear a little padding, a bandana, whatever you think you need to. And you can see here the ears are rubber. You can even kind of see my ears sticking out there. I hate these. If you take a good clean shot to the side of the head, you could actually get to hurt your ear. You could lose potentially partial hearing loss. I've heard stories, and they're floating around there. One or two guys takes a good clean shot to the ear. You can pop your eardrum because of the compression, because this thing will just flatten against your ear. But maybe it won't break, it'll bounce. I'd rather have hard style ears, and you can buy them for these. So you throw that on there, and I would think that would make this a much better mask. Again, preference. Some people are going to tell me, oh, that's stupid, they never break, they never hit you in the ears. It's enough for me to, when someone's telling me that, and I've heard this story from several people, from several different sources, and have it happen several times, as in, hey, I know a guy that this happened to, and it's happening from like 4 different people from different areas that I've lived in. I'm just going to go ahead and say there's a little bit of controversy around these masks, and it's enough for me that I like the V-Force better anyway, so I'm just going to stick with the V-Force. After you've bought your mask, you've played a bit, you'll notice the clarity's a lot better. You should get yourself a nice tank. Now, you can start off, people will tell you, hey, these things are like $30, 20-ounce CO2, they'll last you all day. If your field only plays with CO2, then I guess this is the way to go. But for me, I would go for a compressed air tank. Now, this is a myth regulator on there. I hate this thing. I don't really like it. Some people love it. It doesn't fit on all tanks because of how small it is and the way it hits. If you got any kind of clearance issues there, it's annoying. I would recommend a Ninja tank. They're really nice. They work really well. This thing, I've heard controversy here and there that these aren't necessarily as good as Ninjas. I don't have any real concrete evidence on that. And again, people will tell me, oh, they're fine, they're great, whatever. I recommend Ninjas. They're longer. I think they work a little better. Either way, even with that said, there's nothing wrong with this tank. It works fine. It's just kind of thinking in the future, if you were to stay in the sport, you want to get a higher end, better gun, You want the best equipment when you start buying stuff. Now, with this being a steel tank, you're probably not going to take this regulator off it, so it really doesn't matter. I think I paid $40 for this thing. Now, yeah, it was $40 with shipping. We'll say up to 50. So $50 for one of these things. You might be able to pick them up for that still. Again, go for one with a Ninja regulator. I think it's worth it. It's a steel tank. This is a 47 cubic inch. Whatever. It's fine. Perfect. Instead of going for this, because when you think about it, if you're firing really fast, CO2 can freeze up in your gun. It's not going to be as consistent. It's not going to work as well. So you're going to want to get like an expansion chamber or something. That could run you $30 to $40 to keep the CO2 from freezing up in your gun at high rates of fire. Again, I'm not a rate of fire guy, so if you're never planning on firing that fast, then don't worry about it. With that said, this, 30 plus, let's say $30 for an expansion chamber, a cheap one, that's $60. That's still more than the $50 for this. It's better to go compressed air. I've always started and always gone off compressed air. The only reason I would go off CO2 is depending on the type of marker you're using, if you're going pump, if you're going pistol, or if you really just want a nice tiny little tank off you and you don't want to spend the money for like a 13 cubic inch compressed air tank. Those run about 60. This is about 15. Go for this. It's not that big a deal, because if you're using something this small, you're obviously not going for high rates of fire. Lastly, you've bought your tank, you bought your mask, and again, people have said this several times over and over on the internet. Definitely go for that. Buy your tank, or buy your mask, then buy your tank, then go for your marker. And when you're looking for your marker, and I'll get into this in your first marker video, you really have to go for two trains of thought. And again, I'm speaking from a woods ball side, not a speedball side. Speedball side, to me, just means let's spend more money. You have to think, what is more important to you? You want the really cool, crazy military-style look? Something like this, where it's all cool, tricked out, heavy, you don't care because you want it to look like a real gun? Or do you want something that's going to have, that's smaller, lighter, and the upgrades for it are going to be more meaningful with regards to performance? Eventually along the road, getting something like one of these happy guys. You're going to have to make that decision of what's more important to you for your first gun. Do you want cool looks, or do you want consistency in performance? Performance or looks? You got to choose one of those two things, and when you do, that'll help narrow down which kind of marker you're going to want to buy. But those are the two schools of thought. Looks tend to align more with the woods ball side. Performance tends to align more with the speedball side to a degree. Consistency, when you're in more of the older guys that have been playing woods ball forever, consistency is more important than looks. And then for the speedball guys, rate of fire is king. Consistency usually second. That's usually how I see it. Again, someone's going to argue with me and say that's not true. That's great. That's their opinion. This is what I feel. It's just a small point. So stay tuned for the next video on your first marker, and hopefully you got something out of this.